What's up everyone, this is Justin from Make Supply, and in this video tutorial we'll be making a snap wallet. If you'd like to purchase the template for this tutorial, it is available in two forms in the Make Supply Etsy store, which is linked below. As an instant digital download you can print out and follow along, or as a acrylic template which will be mailed to you. If you do not wish to purchase the template at this time, I invite you to just follow along the build process. Enjoy. Alright, let's take inventory. It'll be pretty much the same cast of characters I use in all my videos, except for the addition of the hardware and the tools to set the hardware. So I'll start with the leather, 3 to 4 ounce Herman Oak natural veg tan. Running low, gonna have to buy some more of that soon. The template, so this template comes in two different versions: the digital download version, which you can just download, print out on cardstock, cut it out and use it the same way I do in all the other videos, or the acrylic version. If you purchase the acrylic version of this template or any template, I mail this out to you, and it's just trace it on. So I haven't used this template, the acrylic version, for this project yet, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to use this here. Number 2 X-Acto knife, metal corkback ruler, CS Osborne scratch awl, wing divider, rotary tool for punching holes. You'll need this to punch the holes for the snaps. You can use a rotary tool, or you can use just the standard hole punches. For stitching, the craft tool 3mm diamond stitching chisels, 4-prong and 2-prong. Good Japan edge beveler, wood slicker for edges, block of beeswax, Tandy stitching needles, royal wood waxed Irish linen 7-ply white, a little cup of water for burnishing and odds and ends, sandpaper, rubber cement, a rubber mallet for using the chisels and for setting the snaps. So now we'll get into the hardware. So long story short, when setting snaps, you have to, if you're not familiar with them, you have to pick the right size for the thickness that you're using. So we're going to be using just a single layer of 3 to 4 ounce leather. So you need a certain size for that. So I went with, these are line 20 solid brass snaps from Buckle Guy. I don't know if you can read this on here, but this is just like all the stats of what they are, in case you want to get them yourself. So these are ring socket, and these are the short post versions. So the problem with these, with setting snaps, is if it has to be like the right size post. If the post is too long, you're going to set your snap and it's going to bend. Or if you don't set it perfectly, your snap, your post can bend. Or if it's too short, it doesn't reach all the way through the leather, you can't set the attachment. So it's a real pain figuring out which ones are the right size. So if you're going to be using anything in the 3 to 4 ounce range with just one layer, I would suggest getting line 20 short post. The short post part is really important, especially if you're setting it by hand. If you have a snap setting tool, like the fully automatic one, you can use the longer post, but if you're doing it by hand, get the short post. And this is the anvil and setter for these snaps. Also comes from Buckle Guy. I'm not sure how universal these things are, like if you can buy them from Tandy and it'll fit all the other snap sizes. I'm not sure. I never really looked into it. I bought this with these and it works fine. So those are the two pieces you'll need to set these snaps. I think I covered everything, and so we'll get started. We'll trace this template onto the leather. Okay, so now it's time to trace this pattern onto this leather. Again, I'm going to use the acrylic version. The digital download version is the same thing, and then you'll use it the same exact way. So obviously you'll notice that there are 2 holes in each piece. So make sure when you're tracing these out to mark your holes before you pull the template off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Running down to the scraps here. It's not even a good part of this leather, but we'll deal with it. This is the good part about acrylic templates, is you can just really muscle in there. You don't have to, with the paper, you got to be a little bit more delicate. With the paper will bend like this, you can really just go right up against the edge and drag it across. Okay, that's one piece. And the other. Okay, good enough. Alright, so I have now traced the 2 pieces on here. Make sure we have our holes, our markings for our holes are going to go. And now we'll cut them out. I'm going to cut these out real quick. It's not that interesting, so I'll cut them out and then we'll come back and move on to the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and cut out the 2 pieces. Alright, got them here. So now we will punch our holes for the snaps. So let me grab my rotary tool. I use the smallest setting on this rotary tool. I don't know what this is, so if you're not sure, always start small, and then you can always make the hole a little bit larger. You want the snap to the post to fit in like snug. Not if it's too much give, then it won't set correctly. So I always start with the smallest. Make a little indent, just make sure you're good, and punch. Okay, so now we have our 2 holes. I'll set the snaps in here just as a placeholder to show you, but you can see kind of how this is going to go here. And then this will kind of sit like that, and then fold down, and you have a little snap wallet. Okay, so the only edge that won't be accessible once we put this together is this edge right here. So we'll just do this one here. Take a little bit of water. Let me grab the saddle soap. I always forget to put the saddle soap in my inventory. So I'm going to use a little saddle soap too. it's like. Okay, good enough for this. So, you can keep going with that and burnish that to your heart's desire, but it's good enough for now. Okay, so now that this is the inside edge that we won't be able to access is done. Bring up the snap stuff. So these packages, if you've never worked with snaps before, they come in 4 pieces. You have your cap. I actually don't know the name of any of the other parts. I know the cap. This thing. This little guy. And the post, the back post, maybe that's what that's called. I don't know. But I know it's the back. And then this guy. So obviously we'll have 2 pairs. So we have obviously 2 snaps that we're setting. So if you need a diagram to, maybe I'll link to one in the blog post, a diagram of how these pieces go if you're not familiar. But basically this one, I don't know how good you can see this, is the back post. So this will go through the back here. I'm gonna enlarge this hole a little bit. Okay. And then this piece, let's see here, has the little dots going around the ring, is the top part of that. And then that'll sit like this when you set that. And then this one will go cap through the top. And then this piece like this. So then once you set these, this will come down here and snap onto there. So, and this is also where you can see how well your posts and your lengths are. So when you look into there, I think the ideal is that I've seen online is you want it to be about a 1/16 of an inch clearance. So that post should only be coming through about a 1/16 of an inch, especially if you're working with the hand version. Using the regular post for the line 20, it's really long. It's almost like an 1/8. And when you're setting it, there's so much space that it's so easy just to knock it crooked, and then you have a crooked cap. It's really hard, especially if you're not used to doing this. And it's kind of an art to setting these things. You'll probably mess up a bunch of times at first, so practice on something that you don't really care about too much. So we will now set these. Trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, because you need a real hard surface to set these on. This is not a really hard surface, so let me figure out what I'm going to do and come back. Alright, kind of went rogue here. We're just move this over to another desk in my room that has a firmer surface. So what you're going to want to do is use something like, if your tabletop is really firm, it's great. Otherwise, use like a hardwood floor, or a marble surface is the best. Something you need, something very firm under this. So I went ahead and set one just to make sure it worked, so I didn't make an idiot out of myself and then ruin it. So we'll do the other one here, and then we'll do the other side. As you can see, I only loosely plan these videos out. I don't go through all the logistics completely. Okay, so we'll set the other bottom part. These aren't as bad because you're going on this flat surface. The harder one is the cap. So again, put your just making the hole a little bit larger there. Put your post through, kind of flatten it out a little bit around the edge there. Take your other attachment and then put it on a hard surface. You can put it on the back of this anvil here, but if you already have like a hard metal surface or a marble surface, you're okay. You don't need to do that. So this is in here, you know. So this is the part where you really gotta practice, and like this, the setter has to stay as upright and straight as possible. It's very easy to have it crooked, and then you're gonna set this ring in here crooked. So basically what you're doing is you're like this middle part goes into the middle of that post there, and it kind of curls the post down and holds it in place. So you want to keep it as straight as possible. It's a little bit harder with the cap part. This part is a little not too bad. Let me try this here. So you want to make sure, you know, nice and centered in the middle there. Put your thing in there. Looking pretty good. And the thing with this is when you're setting snaps is you want to use light taps. You don't want to go around pounding this because this is, you know, soft metal. You can bash right through it. Use very, you know, light taps. If you do a couple taps, pull it out, see if it's, you know, maybe you went a little too far on one side. So looks like I went a little heavy on this side, so I'll kind of lean it over here a little bit. Give it a couple more taps. And that looks pretty good. So now we have both of the bottom snaps, the bottom of the snap on there. I'm going to pause it real quick, grab the other side, get all the pieces over here, and we'll set the caps. Okay, let's do the caps now. So make sure I got all my pieces here. So you have your two caps and your two sockets. I don't know what they're called. I should have really researched what they were called before I did this video. Anyway, so this is the harder part. The caps are very easy to knock off course. So pay extra attention when doing these. Alright, so cap will go through the top. Make sure you push it. Get as much of that post through. With the short post especially, it doesn't really come through that far, so you really gotta, you know, get it through there. And then this part will go through like that. So this is where this cap setter comes in. You have to turn it to the concave side and put the cap into the concave part. You know, make sure you're keeping it, you're holding it straight, and then it's the same process as the other side. Oh, come on. Okay, try to hold that as straight as you can. Light taps. Let's see where you're at. Okay, not too bad. So let me put a little bit more pressure on that. Cool. So, and a way to tell if how straight you set it is to look at it horizontally like that, and you'll see how centered or off center it is. I hope I'm getting this on the camera. You look at it like this, you can see. I mean, mine's pretty much on there. If it was leaning, it's leaning a little this way, but not anything that's gonna be detrimental. So. Take it off like this, look at it from this angle, and you'll see how straight you set it. So go ahead and do the other one. Cap to the top, put it into the setter. Couple taps, see where you're at. Oops, wasn't anywhere. Cool. Good there. Go back to the other one for a sec. Okay, so now we have the top parts of our snaps done and also the bottom. So now it will be time to move back to the regular table and we will mark our stitching lines and get this thing ready to get stitched. Okay, time to glue this thing down, and then we will mark our stitching line and we will mark our holes and then stitch it up and we'll be done. Get some rubber cement or glue, whatever you have. Some light coat. And a light coat on here. Give it a second to dry up a little bit, and then put your front onto your back. Line them up good and straight. Alright, with that, I'm going to let that tack down for a second. And then unless you're certain that is 100% perfect and to your liking, I usually will hit it with some sandpaper just to square up the edge. Okay, take your wing divider or your stitching groover, whatever you're using, 1/8 inch margin. Okay, so now we have a little groove. All right, stitching chisels. So this one I have not measured out to this exact spec, so I will do with the method of starting here and marking. Starting here and marking because I want a perfect starting point on both of these sides, and then I'll meet somewhere maybe around this corner. So I'll just see how this goes. So with hand pressure first, just to see what we're working with. I always hang one prong off the edge and then mark it down. Same on this side. Now let's see where we end up. Pretty close, nice. Sorry, I'm just fixing this one. I went off a little off course there. So now I'll kind of just use the 2-prong and see where, you know. So now there's a little bit of a gap there. It's a little too close if I do that, so I'll usually just mark it with a scratch awl or something. So I'll kind of split the difference between this gap here, so it blends a little easier. I'll just have to remember when I am punching through that I'll have to punch this hole separately. Okay, so now we have all of our holes marked. So that's what I'm going to go do now. I'm going to go through and off camera and just punch all the holes we just marked, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I went ahead and punched all the holes through. Kind of messed up a little bit there. I'm really mad about it. I wasn't paying attention. Pay attention when you're punching your holes. So now it's ready to get stitched. I'm going to stitch it the same way I stitch it in the saddle stitching tutorial, if you've seen that. I'm going to start here, going to start at the second hole in, back stitch 2, and then stitch all the way around and back stitch 2. So I'm going to do that, and then we will come back. Okay, so finished stitching. Started here, all the way around, ended here, back stitched both threads through the back. Now I'll cut them. And let's push that down for now. So we are done stitching, and we are almost done. Alright, now we will do our edges. So as I do in all my videos, we'll rough sand it first. A little bit of water for a little damp sanding, so there's a really small amount. Okay, and then with damp sanding, all one direction. Again, this part just smooths it out a little bit more and pushes the edge up, so it's easier to bevel. Okay. Where's my edge beveler? There it is. Go around with your edge beveler. Other side. Okay. Cool. So now we're ready to burnish. And because we left it from earlier, we have to burnish this whole edge here. Okay, so a little bit of water, a little bit of saddle soap. Start with the attached part first, and then we'll do the flap afterwards. A little bit of water, a little bit of saddle soap. Make sure it's not too much. You just want it to darken and coat. If it's dripping, you have too much water. Okay. Wood slicker. Okay, and you can repeat that process more times if you want. Now we'll do the top. Just before I move on, I noticed when I was rewatching the footage from a previous step when I was setting the snaps, I was talking about how you can check to make sure you set them correctly, and I was holding it off out of the camera view. So just to reiterate that step, look at it from this angle, and you can look straight here. You know, you can see if it's lines up straight with the cap, and if it's really crooked, you might have to drill it out and start over, or you know, it might just be, if you can't drill it out, you're gonna have to either deal with it or make another one. But that's how you can tell. You can just look and make sure those are lined up straight. But anyway, so just went ahead and finished that. So let me find my beeswax. Put the beeswax on the edge. Be a little bit more careful around the flat part because there's not as much support. And then just loosely go over this again. Okay, for the sake of the video, I'm just going to stop there, but you can repeat that process again and get them as shiny and as burnished as you want. And so that will conclude our little flat wallet card holder thing. Let me get some cards. Okay, yeah, just stick some. This will be a little tight at first. But you can throw some cards in there, some cash, plenty of room, and snap it up. You're good to go. Okay, that'll conclude the Snap wallet card holder tutorial. I'm not sure, I'm going to name it yet. And if you have any questions, feel free to address them in the comments section of the YouTube video, the comments section of the blog. You can email me directly, or you can post on Facebook if you want, on the Make Supply Facebook page, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for tuning in.